Hello! Welcome to LVLS Whenever, episode 180. And you can see a bit of it over here, but we're doing the inventory video today. I have pulled literally everything out except for like consoles, some books that aren't specifically to a video game company, but are just talking about video games as a whole. And a couple other things here and there that are like at my office. It's all in here, and we're gonna go through it all. Before we do that though, I'll capture the stuff outside of this room, and then we'll go through this bit by bit by bit. And I'll explain when I'm closer to my phone so I don't have to project so much.
All right, well, funny predicament. I had to re-record all the audio because my phone's microphone just decided, you know what would be great? Popping. Lots and lots of popping. So I am using Audition to re-record the audio track so you can have my voice. This room is full of stuff, as you can obviously tell just by the spin that we're going through. We're going to be going through all of it, eventually. So much to cover. We've got so many things. Putting it all into a single room certainly puts in perspective. Before we get into the stuff in this room, though, let's tackle some things that are out of it. NES books, general history books, the art of Yasushi Suzuki for some random reason. And then my gender and games books, and then my cultural books, as well as some online books about video games and culture. And then these are the maps. I just didn't feel like taking these down. So Fire Emblem Three Hopes, Metaphor, Short Hike, Untitled Goose Game, Celeste, Breath of the Wild. There's Cat. So the office is super empty, or at least it was when I was recording this. This is this audio's done well after me putting everything back. But you can just see, like, I cleaned out nearly everything. There's some stuff still down in those bottom cabinets, and in the side cabinets, controllers, consoles, stuff like that. All of Flavia's stuff. I have a Castlevania desktop mat that I use, and then I have the Astrobot DualSense and a Switch 2 Pro controller, the Switch 2, and the PS5, as well as the scanner that I use for my art. Indie games. So here is Draenus and Hades. You can see that Draenus had some special edition stuff. Not all of it's here. I'll catch it later. Hades, I got a couple fan gamer things along with those. Steam World, I have a shirt from Fangamer, as well as SteamWorld Heist, SteamWorld Dig, and SteamWorld Heist 2, and then a sticker that came with the shirt. Short Hike, I have a Claire plushie and a shirt, both those from Fangamer, as well as a Short Hike, which came from Super Rare. Spirit Fair, I have a shirt and a Daffodil plushie from Fangamer, and as well as the game. I didn't think the collector's edition was all that in a bag of gravy, so I didn't get it. So this is what I have for a game that I truly love. Bloodstained, I bought it twice. I had it on the Switch, that's where the steel case came from. Then I bought it on the PS4 because it runs better. And then I got this shirt from Fangamer at some point. Shovel Knight. I need to probably get more Shovel Knight things. I could get the art book, for example, and I just haven't done it. Need to rectify that at some point. But I have 3 of the 4 amiibo. I didn't care for King Knight, so I got rid of it. I have this print from Fangamer, and I have the Wii U version of the game with all the stuff through that. Just haven't felt like upgrading to another version. Here's a little bit more of a close-up on that art. I guess there's a golden Shovel Knight too, but I forget about him. Untitled Goose Game. I got 2 shirts and socks from the Yeti, as well as the physical copy of the game. I love Untitled Goose Game. I've turned one of the socks into a goose prop that's in the shelves. It's just a lovely game. I played it like 5 times, and I just adore it each time. Celeste, I have a ton of stuff. So I have 2 shirts from Fangamer, as well as the Badeline and Madeline plush from Fangamer as well. I think all of this is from Fangamer. Stickers, postcards, a framed piece of art from the ending, the steel book that came with the PC version of Celeste, the soundtrack, cassette tape, stickers, a patch, and the Switch version of the later re-release of Celeste. lots and lots of stuff for a game that I truly adore. It's such a wonderful game. All right, Grease and Neva. There's a lot. They are two of my favorite games of all time, and I love Nomada Studio, so I have the Grease and Neva Collector's Edition and the Grease Signature Edition. I have the vinyls that came with each. I have the art books that came with each, once the camera catches up with my voice. There we go. I have the plushies of Grease and the Forest Buddy. Those were from Fangamer, as well as the signed watercolor from Conrad Rosé that came with a Signature Edition, sticker that came with one of the shirts that we'll get to in a minute, the steel books that came with the Neva Grease combo for the PS5, the Switch Signature Edition of the game, as well as the box that you can put it in if you want, and then I framed this Grease and Neva print that came with that edition. Then I have the cover of the Signature Edition box. I got rid of the box, but I like the art. And then I have 4 shirts. 2 of them are the same. The one on the left, I have 2 of. All of the shirts are from Fangamer. They're all lovely, exquisite designs. I love this game so much. I would love to get some Neva merch from Fangamer, but they just haven't gotten around to it yet. I hope that they will. I hope that Devolver just hasn't dropped that association, because Fangamer kind of knocked it out of the park. All right, this is kind of a mishmash of random solo games that I don't have anything else tied to. Famicom, PS5, Famicom Disk System, Switch, PS2, NES. Let's move into things I do have a little bit more say on. So Body Harvest, one of my favorite N64 games. Weirdly with Pico Interactive now. I don't know how that happened. But I do have a poster that came with Nintendo Power at some point, as well as the 3 Shadow Hearts games, which are complete with manuals and the discs. I've had all 3 of them twice, which is just bizarre. And then here are some Koei Tecmo, Kemco. I actually have no Koei games. Culture Brain, Soulful, and Pony Canyon games for I think this is all Famicom. Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. This is technically Square Enix as of the time that was released, but now it's Embracer, so it's just here in this random pile. Gung Ho / Game Arts. Game Arts made Faria as well, which is on the right. Grandia is over with the Square Enix stuff. And then this is, I looked it up. It'll be popping up in a second. Publisher of these 2 games. And here's the Atari stuff, the Atari 400 Mini and the Atari 50 anniversary celebration. I need to update that 400 Mini so I have the right version of Mule. Compile games. Gunnak, Guardian Legend, or Guarded Gaiden, LS Collection, and the Gorby Pipeline game that I can't remember. These are the 2K games I have, 2 of the XCOMs, and Bioshock combo, and then the Sony stuff I have, which is surprisingly light. I do have Sly 2 as a random disc elsewhere, but the Sly 2 plushie I'm really happy about. Data East, I'm kind of shocked I only have 3 games of theirs, considering how many things I picked up for the Famicom, but I only have Metal Max and Glory to Heracles 2. City Connection, Jalico games. Never would have thought I would have had so much Jar Jar Maru in my collection, but here we are. And then Furyu with Alliance Alive. There's more stuff to this, like the Penguin and the soundtrack, which we'll get to later. Natsume and Natsume Atari. Complete Harvestman 64, Wild Guns Reloaded. I've got a postcard that came with that. That's somewhere else. Abadox. I forget the name of these games, but some of their Famicom output. And then the Shadow of the Ninja and SCAT re-releases that Limited Run did when I supported that company. Portal. I actually have no physical games for Portal anymore, but I do have a shirt that I got off of TeePublic from a fan. Shell and Turret toys, and then this GLaDOS papercraft that a dear friend made for me. Xseed Marvelous. I have Little King's Story, and then the Divine Edition of Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, along with a pop-up parade of her. I need to get back into this game. There was a few that I was covering on this, and I was like, wow, I've not finished that. Gotta get back into this one at some point. There was a couple other things as well. The maps here, because there's a big old name of the previous owner on this manual. Sorry about that. But this is the Bard's Tale manual and Bard's Tale 2 manual and strategy book, which is told like a story, which I think is really cute. I still have these because I adore those old games. It's the only things left in my Commodore 64 collection. Dead Space, Remake 2, Extraction, the Figma of Isaac Clarke from the remake, and then Mirror's Edge. That's all the EA stuff I got, and all the stuff I will have. Beyond Good and Evil, from a company I will not name. I have these 2 papercraft framed of Paige and Jade that the same friend who made the Portal one, the game for the GameCube, strategy guide, and then this GameStop marketing piece that a friend gave me years ago that I still have. Rare, and I guess Microsoft. I have the Perfect Dark strategy guide, t-shirt, sticker that came with the t-shirt, whatever this GameStop line of Amiibo knockoffs are. Complete Perfect Dark in box. Love that game. I've spent 7 days on that N64 cart playing multiplayer. And then Battletoads, Banjo-Kazooie stuff. I have the guide kind of down in the corner as well. Evil Within 2, because I guess I have to cover Microsoft somehow. My signed GoldenEye by Richard Keel, aka Jaws. I'll see the description for that, as well as the guide. It's Arch System Works, but it's mostly River City Girls. T-shirt. The Japanese version of 1 and 2 together. I kept most of the rest of the River City Girls special edition that I got from Limited Run years ago. Just not the game, because I might as well have the complete 1 and 2. I have the Masako and Kyoko plushes that Fangamer did. The shirt's also from them. And then just a lot of miscellaneous merch that some of it's here, some of it will be later in the video. That had a replica fake cart that has no way of playing it, as well as the soundtrack. And then the Art of River City Girls from Fangamer that's signed by like the director and some of the artists. And then stickers that came with the Japanese edition, posters that came with the special edition. These other 2 Kunio-kun sports games that I don't remember what they're called. And then more Techno, Super Spike V-Ball for the NES, Double Dragon, and Sagoro Quest for the Famicom. And to wrap this all up, when I can scoot the camera over, Guilty Gear Strive, the deluxe edition that came out a long time ago. This was actually my first PS5 game, believe it or not. Namco. Soul Calibur makes me do that, I'm sorry. So I have the Dreamcast Soul Calibur and the Nightmare figure from Soul Calibur 2 from years ago. Paku Graffiti, Quest of Key, Quinty, Valkyrie no Boken for the Famicom, Tekken 8 down there in the corner, Pac-Man Ghost plush, there's Tekken 8, 2 of the Namco Museums, 1 for PlayStation. I want to get the rest of the PlayStation ones, they're just a little bit more costly. Pac-Man Amiibo, Tales. I have Tales of Symphonia for the GameCube, Tales of Graces F Remastered, and Tales of Vespra Definitive Edition. I also have the Tales Guide and a Tales Art Book, and I have a bootleg Tales soundtrack that we'll get to later. And then over here, rounding this out, are 4 of the 5 Namcot Girl boxes that I'm trying to get for a feature in Femtendo. Just need Family Tennis, and then I'm done. Haven't been able to get that boxed yet. Sunsoft. Oh, I found out that their parent company owns a surveillance company that's helping Israel out in their genocidal stuff. Well, how fun. So I'm not supporting Sunsoft as much anymore, but Blaster Master 0, 02 Collector's Edition. I still have 01, because that's the one I like. Came with a poster, seeing like half of it. 0 came with a replica box, a replica cart down at the bottom here, which we'll get to. These 2 metal tank replicas from the games. I have the Metafight Famicom version as well. And then the Switch one's over on the left. Euphoria 2, and then Sunsoft is back. And I have 2 of those games that are in that, Wing and Medulla and Ripple Island, as Famicom carts. That came with these 2 manga, which I'm really happy to have. Triple DX, the conversion was a disappointment. The game itself is perfectly adequate and good. Gimmick with the plush. There's special edition stuff scattered everywhere else. And then I have Dead Zone and the NES Batman. and then these 2 History of Sunsoft books. Speaking of things I won't be acquiring anything else of, SNK. The last thing I ultimately got was the Neo Geo Pocket Color Collector's Edition from Pix and Love. I got the Capcom side. I thought about getting the SNK side before all the things happened, but alas, this took forever to ship anyway. But it is the card game with all the Capcom cards. It's really cute. Happy that I did eventually get it. I have Kodelka up there for the PlayStation, a Nakaruru figure, SNK 40th Anniversary Collection, Metal Slug Anthology. Stead is an SNK game just through association, and then the 2 Pocket Color Selection releases, one from Limited Run, one from Pix and Love, and then these 4 prints from the King of Fighters art book I got rid of. KOF Collector's Edition, KOF Evolution, KOF 11, and then up in the top right is the envelope that all the art went in, as well as Iori, Blue Mary, and my Terry amiibo. And then the framed art is the last print that came from the book that I no longer have. Konami, Castlevania, my favorite franchise of theirs, my favorite tied with Metroid and probably Fire Emblem at this point. Anniversary Collection poster, the Advanced Super Deluxe Collector's Edition up there. I had got the Anniversary Collection Special Edition. This was like the last thing I got from Limited Run. The GameSpite Journal of Anatomy of Castlevania, the Hardcore Gaming 101 book is underneath it. You can see the Simon amiibo up there, as well as some of the other Anniversary Collection stuff. These are the little tiny mini box arts. That sticker is from a shirt that I'll show you later. More of the Anniversary Collection. The Shadow Box. Took me a minute to remember this in the original recording. Richter's amiibo is kind of tucked up there. I have Sypha's anime figure as well. Games. I have the Famicom Disk System version of Castlevania, Castlevania 2, a complete Castlevania 3 for the Famicom, Kid Dracula, the N64 Castlevania, a box Super Castlevania 4, that's a reprint, the Greatest Hits Symphony of the Night, the original Aria of Sorrow, complete. And then we're scrolling down eventually to the Switch compilations for Anniversary, Advance, and Dominus. And then I have Lament of Innocence for the PS2 down here as well. And then you can see the 3DS games. And then I also have the PSP Dracula X Chronicles. And then a few more posters that came from a Nintendo Power poster book framed. The Aria of Sorrow one from a Nintendo Power issue. And then shirts, I have this Aria of Sorrow fan one, and then this general franchise one with all the sub-weapons here. And then this official one of the Dominus collection characters. And then Silent Hill shirts, because we're going to go into that next. This one of Silent Hill 3's Heather. And then this one here of Silent Hill 2. That was done by a fan. And then for Silent Hill, I have the Heather statue from Numbskull, as well as a Figma of Red Pyramid thing. The sticker came with this Heather shirt from earlier. And then a Greatest Hits copy of Silent Hill. And then Silent Hill 2 and 3 for the PlayStation 2. You just can't see Silent Hill 2, because I don't have boxes for those. And then the remake for Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill F. And then going on, I have not gotten the collection yet for the Switch, but here's the N64 first two, complete with all the stuff, I think, and then the Gaiden games for the Famicom. Suikoden. I have the HD remaster for the PS5, and then the PS2 versions of 3, 4, 5, and Tactics. Some sports stuff in the YY World games. The International Superstar Soccer 98 is complete. And that's Konamic Tennis. I have Contra on the NES and Super Contra for the Famicom. And then these are the Esper Dream games I have, 1 and 2. And then I've just lumped all the shoot 'em ups together. So I have Gradius Origin Collection for the Switch. I have Salamander for the Famicom. Moero Twin Bee for the Famicom Disk System. Twin Bee 3 for the Famicom. A complete Parodius for the Famicom. And then I just threw the TurboGrafx 16 Mini because there's so many shooters on that. And then the Ninja Turtles Deluxe Edition. I kept the art book and the cards in the game. I got rid of everything else that I didn't care. Konami Random bits. Vandal Hearts, I believe that's complete. And then some of the carts that I've got, Lagrange Point. a motocross champion, I think is what that one is. And then Ice Sensei Nicole, Nightmare 2 right above it. And then this is like Yume something, Penguin something. It's adorable though. And then I threw the Hudson stuff in here because why not? That's Momodaro Ten Tetsu Gaiden. Not to be confused with the train one. And then the spin-off Adventure Island for the anime that came out in Japan only. Castle Quest, not to be confused with what was released as Castle Quest here. And then an RPG that I don't know the name of. It looks like Sherei Gari is what it is. Thank you for putting it in English. All right, we're moving into Sega. We'll start with Atlas. And Vanillaware specifically. So here's the Odin Sphere Storybook Edition that came with the Leaf Brashear re-release that they did for the PS4. Came with a fancy box and a t-shirt and an art book, and I framed the print that came with it. Got that hanging up. Cat noise, apologies. The steelbook that came with it. And then Unicorn Overlord. I bought the deluxe art book from Japan because I love the art for this game. And then I got the Monarch edition, so it has an art book that I was like, that's nice, but it's not nice enough. A 16-bit arranged music album, a card game, and then the game itself. Valkyria Chronicles. I don't have any physicals left of this, but I love the art, so I kept the art book. And then the Astro City Mini Tube because I needed to put it somewhere. Wrapping up Atlas with the Shin Megami Tensei adjacent games. So Soul Hackers 2, Persona 3 Reload, and then Megami Tensei 2. And then Metaphor. I have the big old strategy guide for it, as well as the Will figure and the game itself. I didn't get the collector's edition on this, which I'm kind of bummed about, but oh well. And then, of course, New York Yankees. All right, Sega proper now. Skies of Arcadia, had to start there. I got this shirt. I think this is from Coinbox Tees, if I remember correctly. And then I framed a poster that Nintendo Power did eons ago. And then I have the US and Japanese GameCube versions and the US Dreamcast version. I'm going to get the Dreamcast version from Japan at some point. And then I threw the miscellaneous stuff. So I've got Choo Choo Rocket for the Dreamcast, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth for the PS5, and then Puyo Puyo for the Famicom, and then the Dreamcast demo disc with Sega Swirl on it. The Genesis and Genesis 2 minis. I need to still do that Mega Drive 2 mini breakdown. Sonic stuff, I don't have a lot. I have Sonic Origins Plus, Sonic Mania Plus, Sonic and All-Star Racing's Transformed, 2 art books that came with those, and then the Sonic Amiibo and a random Rouge I found at work. And the Streets of Rage 4 Collector's Edition. I don't have the box anymore, but I have practically everything else. The art book's nice. And then I think I also got rid of the Genesis box that came with it because I didn't need it. And here's Flavia. You heard her a little bit ago, but I physically have her in the video. Look, it's my cat. She does exist. Anyway, Taito. Look at all this Taito stuff. My Taito fandom is exploded in the last 10 years? 5 years? Probably 10. There is so much to go over. I'm even in a Taito Dosenji. My own artwork is. Isn't that just bananas to think about? Anyway, let's go over to Kiki Kakai, Pocky and Rocky. We'll start there. So I have the collector's edition that came from Strictly Limited with the plush. That came with the acrylic Sayo-chan and Muriyuki. I think that's his Japanese name. And then I have Kiki Kakai Dotohen, as well as a golf game that she's in. The collector's edition came with a poster. The shirt's not from the collector's edition. That came from the Yeti. I think that's a Pixel iBat, and I love Pixel iBat stuff. The collector's edition came with stickers, a soundtrack, some cards as well. The Ray's Arcade Chronology. I ordered this from Japan because this just took too freaking long for Strictly Limited to ship. I had to cancel all my stuff because I couldn't deal with it anymore. I waited 3 years. 3 years is way too long to be waiting for something. I also got the Taito LD game collection from Japan. This came with a bunch of really cool display art that you watch the games as a video on the DVD that you see there. Also has a design book and a little Time Gal standee. Ninja Saviors Return of the Warriors, or Ninja Warriors once again. I framed the poster that came with it. There's a couple other things in the game case. And then I have lots of Darius. So much Darius. There's 3 soundtracks, 2 art books, a lot of just stickers and like little arcade labels and cards and posters and marketing materials, 2 giant boxes. Just so much stuff. There's also a paper craft of the Darius Burst arcade cabinet that I will never build. But it's there. Some Taito miscellaneous stuff in Sector X and Kaiji Blader SD for the Famicom, Rainbow Islands and Power Blade for the NES. You can see Titronica, which is the Doshinji I mentioned earlier, and then Minovation Saga. And then let's get to the pride and jewel of my little mini console collection, the Egret Mini 2. I love this thing. I have the box still and all the stickers and stuff that came with it. I have the paddle, but I have the 4 expansions plus the paddle expansion, the Taito stations that came alongside those, all of the little extra marquee cards that came with the expansions. And these 2 little boxes, those came from a friend who ended up getting parts for the Egret 2 Mini 3rd expansion, but didn't want the boxes, shipped them to me. So I kept them. The Taito stations are essentially like strategy guides, but they're all in Japanese. And there's the Titronica. There's some really cool artists in that. It's really wild that my art's included with like some really astoundingly good artists. Square Enix. I somehow got all of Square Enix more or less out in a singular display. I don't know how I did it. There's so much to cover. But we'll start with Chrono Trigger. I have 3 Chrono Trigger shirts. 2 of them are from the Yeti, which is these 2 that you see here. I love both of them. I think they're fantastic. The one in the middle, it's like a top 5 shirt. I love that shirt so much. And then this one came from TeePublic. A fan did this one. I have the DS and the Super Famicom versions of the game, as well as the Bad Dudes Chronotorious album of remixes, where this art came from, as well as the soundtrack that a friend gave me eons ago. Same friend that gave me the Beyond Good and Evil thing, actually. Octopath Traveler 2. I got the collector's edition from Gamers in Control a year or 2 ago. So they came with these little painted busts of the 8 main characters, as well as an art book in the game itself. There might be something else in the box, I don't remember. And then some of the random things. I've got Juku Hero, Conquest of the Crystal Palace, Dungeon Kid, those are both quest games. Just Breed for the Famicom, Mystic Arc, and Mischief Makers. Romancing Saga, Revenge of the Seven for the Switch, Bushido Blade, and then Grandia Extreme. That's my 2nd copy of Grandia 2, by the way. Fantasian, which they released. Shoishio no Dragon, and Little Computer People from the Famicom Disk System, as well as some other games that Square and or DOG, their Famicom Disk System label, released. Tactics Ogre, Knights of Lotus, I'm all over the place here. Valkyrie Profile 2. Ogre Battle 64, complete in box. Tactics Ogre is as well. Tactics Ogre Reborn. I have the art book for Tactics Ogre, as well as I framed the Nintendo Power poster. And then I have Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terra Enigma, and Star Ocean, the second story, are rounding out the Enix side of things. And then Mana, I have the Art of Mana and a framed poster. And then Legend of Mana for PS4, Collection of Mana, and Trials of Mana for the Switch. And then this really nice art that I got from Fangamer at some point. And then Final Fantasy, much reduced compared to some other people, but I have the Amano, the Sky hardcover box set. I got that for super cheap. Amiibo for Cloud and Sephiroth, but I have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Remake 1, 2, and 3 on the Famicom, Tactics, and the Pixel Remaster Collection on the Switch. Dragon Quest is huge. It takes up so much space. I've got this poster way back here that I got from Fangamer. And then my Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest 1, 2 collection. I have all the Dragon Warrior games boxed complete. I have all the Famicom carts of those 4 games. And then the 1, 2, and 3 HD 2D remasters. And I also have the DS version of this, which we'll get to in a minute. I have DS 4, 5, 6, and 9, and Rocket Slime, as well as the 3DS version of 8 up there, the definitive version of that game. I also have the illustration book, as well as the 8 and 9 strategy guides, some random toys, the PS2 Slime controller that doesn't work. And then I got all 4 of the Dragon Quest VIII Pro Tag figures a long time ago, and Elena from 4. And then this Dragon Quest shirt with a bunch of slimes and a random Ditto from Pokemon for some reason. But it's cute, and I think it's more of a Dragon Quest shirt anyway. Alright, Capcom. I couldn't put all the Capcom stuff out. That was just too much of an ask. So Strider and Lin Kurosawa from Aliens vs. Predator, for reasons. They seem like they would be friends. That Strider NES is complete. I love that shirt, too. I love the Batman homage that it has. Breath of Fire, I have 3 in a case, separate from this. And then I have Dragon Quarter complete, and then the art book for the series. Mega Man, I have the art book, some figures, some stickers. Rockman Dash 2 and the Misadventures of Tron Bond from Japan. Mega Man 3 up there. The artwork that I personally made for Mega Man 3. And then we skip over the shirt. We'll just touch on Pragmata, Samurai Ghost, and the NES Bionic Commando, and the Dino Crisis manual I inexplicably have for some reason. And we'll get to Ghost Trick. I ordered the deluxe edition of this game, and then one of my favorite shirts, based on my favorite Super in all of video games, the Smash Ultimate Super for Mega Man. And then I have this Capcom Character Encyclopedia. I have 2 shirts, I have some stickers, I have the Amaterasu Nindoroid, and then the official complete works of Okami that was done by Udon. Street Fighter and other fighting games. I have the 20-year Art of Street Fighter. Still, we're now at 35. So I'm hoping they release a new one at some point. There was a Street Fighter 6 art book that came with their collector's edition. The Like a Hurricane book. I have the Pop-Up Parades of Luke, Kimberly, Chun-Li, and Juri. I have the amiibo for Ryu, Ken, Kimberly, and Jamie, and then a Vega figure from a long time ago, and then a Sakura figure. Back to that book. Matt Leone did a fantastic job on all those interviews, by the way. I was happy to finally pick this up before Polygon got gobbled up by Valnet. Kimberly shirt from the Yeti, and then I'm pretty sure Coinbox Tees did this one with Chun-Li. Stickers, we'll get to those cards in a little bit. Street Fighter 6 Deluxe Edition for the PS5, and then the 2 Street Fighter Alpha 3s that I have, Dreamcast GBA. So Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate Complete Works, Rival Schools Official Complete Works, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Marvel vs. Capcom on the Dreamcast, Tetsuno vs. Capcom on the Wii, Capcom Fighting Collection 1 and 2 for the Switch. Some of the best compilations ever freaking made. I have a ton of merch for Ace Attorney. I love this franchise. So this Christmas-themed sweatshirt, I love this Emma shirt. It's one of my favorite shirts. It's glow in the dark too, which is just freaking awesome. And then this one from the bonus case from the first game, and then Apollo and Trucy from Apollo Justice. I love all these shirts so much. They're some of my favorites. Well, hello there. We're interrupting the inventory video for some background on what in the world is going on with this thing. So, I recorded all of the video with my phone, and as I said in the earlier audio, it had a bunch of popping. So I recorded a new audio string that was ultimately an hour and a half, because I decided to watch the video playback through the video editor that's like default on Windows, and that was a terrible idea because it couldn't handle the ever-increasing file size of the audio file I was recording. At the same time, I was trying to watch the video sequence play out in that editor because it had like a good 50 or so clips in there. But it has gotten to a point that it doesn't make sense to continue doing things that way because of the delay that was being artificially inserted into the video playback. I've got so much dead time in between audio, I'm cutting out like 10, 15 seconds of audio of me improvising, trying to get through the video. So what I'm going to do after this little video segment ends is we're going to use Premiere and get the audio voiceover to the actual video clip instead of watching it on something that it's buffering badly, and it should sync up correctly. All right, we're back in with new audio again. Art of Ace Attorney book has the first 3 games in Apollo Justice. I'm so glad that the Ace Attorney series is all on the Switch. I love having all of them. It's a shame that the original Phoenix Wright trilogy was not released physically here, but what can you do? I've got these pins and stickers from Fangamer, and then I've got the Nindoroid of Phoenix. I've got this ornament, and then this desk mat that I use as artwork. I think it's just really quite splendid. Resident Evil is next, and I've got quite an assortment of things. I'll start with the guides, Resident Evil 4 GameCube guide, the Resident Evil Archives book from 2002-ish. Biohazard 30th anniversary shirt. I love Haru's art. She also did the cards that I was talking about earlier. I have a bunch of figures. Leon and Ada RE4 remake Nindoroids, as well as Iron Maiden, Ada, and Vertigo. Claire shirt from TeePublic. I have Resident Evil 2 on the N64 complete, as well as RE2 remake, RE4 remake, RE4 on the Wii, Resident Evil Requiem, and Code Veronica. And I know I made a point of this in the original. I can't wait to have Resident Evil Veronica in that spot right above it. This is going to be so exciting. Just going to quickly add those 3 figures on the bottom are NECA figures from like 2005. All right, got this huge pile of Nintendo. Let's get going with a random grab bag of games I don't have more than just like 1 or 2 things for. There's so much in my Nintendo collection. It's kind of wild. All right, Amiibo. Got Pit and Palutena from Kid Icarus. Captain Falcon from F-Zero. Wolf from Star Fox. Min Min from ARMS. Isabelle from Animal Crossing. The NES and Super NES Minis. I now have a game to go with Wolf. Get to it at the end. My goodness. All right, moving a little bit to the left. Last Story, Deluxe Edition, Viva Las Vegas, and Adventure Lolo 3 from HAL. They're owned by Nintendo, seems appropriate. You can see the rest. There's a lot to look at here. The ice hockey is complete, although the cart's kind of beat up. The SimCity is also complete. Volleyball and Shin Onigashima Part 1 is complete. Yuyuki, unfortunately, is not. Doki Doki Panic is not. Wave Race and 1080 just have the carts. As we finally start scrolling over, I've got these stickers from Beth B. Rad. She sent them along with the print that I got of Zelda. And then that's where Mewtwo's hanging out, because that's the only Pokemon stuff I have. Look at all these Nintendo Power issues. And Rob in my old NES that no longer works. The Rob Amiibo is also on top. And then I collected some guides that are NES specific, as well as 2 comics that I have. So yeah, that is the grab bag. Moving on into some other things that I have more than one thing. So like Famicom Detective Club, which I never imagined I'd be saying I have more than one thing in Famicom Detective Club. Still need to get the second game on the Famicom Disk System. Smash, I have these cute little letters that you can make your own Smash invites. This Hotel Dusk framed art, I made myself. I put some art together. Donkey Kong Bonanza shirt with the game and the original Famicom release of Donkey Kong. The amiibo of Donkey Kong and Pauline and King K. Rool. And then Ice Climbers, I have the amiibo for. Kirby, which we're about to get to, I don't have a lot of stuff anymore. I really just have Kirby's Epic Yarn, the Kirby Nindoroid, the Meta Knight amiibo, and this lovely Kirby in a ramen bowl shirt. That's one of my absolute favorites that I wear anytime I go get pho. Earthbound. I've got a lot of shirts, so we'll start with this one. I have a Splatoon shirt by the same artist. Gygus, and the NES styled one. And this particular one, these are all Fangamer shirts. The first one was from TeePublic. That one's really hard to see, but it's like Starman from the intro. This is a framed piece of art from Fangamer when they didn't care about IP. And then kind of a grab bag of other things. This Legends of Localization book for Earthbound is a signed copy. I have a book plate with Clyde, his wife, and I believe the president of Fangamer buried in its pages somewhere. There it is. But it also came with like a business card and a little like fold out that you could put on the outside that I usually don't leave out on the outside of books like this because they get crunched. This 8 Melodies notebook came from my Nintendo. I have a NES hat and Franklin badge, and the little flag there, and the little print came from Fangamer. NES amiibo, and that little postcard there also came from Fangamer. And then I have Mother for the Famicom. I will have Mother 2 at some point, when I have the money to afford it. But yeah, I do love Earthbound quite a bit. So I think that's kind of apparent. Xenoblade. I love the first game. I've liked what I played of X and 3 so far. And regrettably, I like Pyra and Mythra and Smash, so I have their amiibo. But I have the collector's edition of Definitive Edition 1, 3, and then I got a pre-order bonus for X. I'm excited about Genesis whenever that happens. I also have the Mio and Noah amiibo for 3, and the Shulk amiibo from Smash. That's technically also in Definitive Edition. And we will scroll down to see those art books momentarily, I promise. I'm sure I was complaining about Pyra and Mythra in the original audio because I just have to say something every time. I even did it in this recording. I can't stop myself. All right, let's get into Splatoon. Quite a bit to cover here. That bag and these postcards both came from my Nintendo. Splatoon 1 and 2 art book. Still sad they never localized the third one. And then I've got a bunch of shirts. This Tentacles one, that's like the Demon Days cover, is one of my absolute favorites of all time. I love that shirt so much. There's the deep cut shirt to the left. This is going so fast. The one to the left of that was from the Yeti. The Merino one that you just saw, that one's official from Nintendo. And then the last one, I think, is by the same artist who did the Earthbound one. Here's the Figmas I have of Inkling Girl from 1 and 2. I had these Valentines at a recent gaming convention in town. I think they're really cute. And then I got a bunch of stickers. Here's some of the other postcards that came. There's Splatoon 2 and 3 and a couple toys, and the Zelda Splatoon crossover keychains that my Nintendo did. On the back, you can see a whole assortment of amiibos from 1, 2, and 3. I have all of them except the recolors, and the Octolings just decided they didn't want to stand up on the back. There's the deep cut ones, the transformed ones, and then the art that I did for Splatoon 1 long ago, and then the Off the Hook amiibo and the Squid Sisters amiibo. So yeah, I love this series. It's one of my favorites. All right, Mario. I have a fair amount of Mario stuff. I got 2 shirts. This one on the left of Cool Mountain was a fan one from TeePublic. The one on the right is the Yeti one. The Super Mario Adventures comic. I'm really glad they reprinted that. And then the Rosalina storybook that came out last year. I have one of the Nintendo Adventure books from when I was a kid. And then you can see some of the figures in amiibo on top of the Super Mario ceramic jars that I got from the Nintendo store. The Mario 2 metal plate, the Super Mario Brothers Wonder pre-order bonus, a Pez of Luigi my parents got me, the Giant Yarn Yoshi, bowls and plates from the same line. I have towels in an oven mitt too, but I used them, so they're not pretty and immaculate like the other pieces are, so I'm not showing you those. And then I got playing cards, Hanafuda cards. Those are the pins from the anniversary a little while ago, and then the Mario Galaxy 2 pin. And then getting into the games themselves, Super Paper Mario, Complete, Mario 64, Super Mario Bros. 2, oldest game I have in terms of consecutive years of ownership. And then the Famicom 1, 3 in USA. Mario Galaxy Galaxy 2, Super Mario 3D World, Bowser's Fury, Mario RPG Remake, Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door Remake, Mario Kart Deluxe 8, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Golf Super Rush, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This poster came from Nintendo Power. And then old comics and that children's book that I've had since I was like 4. Yeah. Oodles of stuff. There's a close-up on that Galaxy pin that I mentioned. It's pretty much the box art. So, yeah. And that Rosalina amiibo is enormous. I keep forgetting how big it is until I put it next to everything else. So yeah, not my favorite Nintendo franchise, but I got a decent amount of stuff. Here's my favorite Nintendo franchise, Metroid. Lots of stuff. Let's start in the back. That is a canvas print of the Metroid Zero Mission box art that I adore. The Super Metroid canvas print from a artist that I bought at the same convention as those Valentines I mentioned. I love that art. And then I have the Metroid Zero Mission Guide, Metroid Dread Special Edition, the Metroid metal plate for the box art, the art book that came with the Dread Collector's Edition, and then the Prime Retrospective hardcover that came out last year. That's really nice. And then shirts. This one on the left is from Fangamer. It glows in the dark. These two are from the Yeti Pixel iBat. Again, love their stuff. This is one of my favorite shirts ever. I love this Taylor Swift homage with Samus. It's so good. This Metroid sweatshirt is an official Nintendo product. It has a NES era Samus patch on the sleeve. And then I love this one as well. This one's from TeePublic. And then this one's from Fangamer. I wish that they still did stuff like that. And then Metroid Zero Mission official shirt. That probably came with the guide as a promo thing to get a new subscription. Lots and lots of Metroid apparel. The games I have is the Famicom Disk System version of Metroid, Super Metroid, Greatest Hits, Prime Remastered, 2 Echoes, 4 Beyond, Metroid Zero Mission, and Metroid Dread. And then I threw a little postcard of Samus I got from a Fangamer order that I think is cute into that mix. And then I have a whole assortment of posters and amiibo here. All the posters came from my Nintendo, and I have all the Metroid amiibo now. Every single one of them. I'm very happy about that. And then I also have 2 Figma figures of Samus, one from Dread and one from Other M. Regrettably, Other M. They didn't have the Prime 3 Corruption one out at the time. But, you know, at least the suit design in Other M isn't bad. I will say that. So, yeah. And then I think there's a cattail that's walked by. And then I have the Super Metroid poster from Nintendo Power. A little bit more of a close-up on these Figmas. Got them posed in specific ways. I love Metroid. I really do. I need to play Super Metroid again. It's been too long. And there's Flavia again. Looking at what we're going to talk about next. Zelda. I managed to fit all of Zelda out into a single display. I don't know how I did it, really, because I have so much Zelda stuff. But here's a wide shot of all the shirts. The top 2 on the left are from the Yeti. The 2 on the right, far right. And there's a better shot of what the Zelda one looks like. Yeah, well, I'm just going to pan around because I forgot how I filmed this. I'm sorry that this is very haphazard. So I'll just follow my hand. So Twilight Princess Guide, Collector's Edition Guide for the GameCube, the Zelda Link to the Past comic, Tears of the Kingdom, Strategy Guide Deluxe, Breath of the Wild Expanded Edition with the DLC. Those 2 shirts came from the Yeti, as I was saying. This one is an official shirt from Nintendo Power, as is the Twilight Princess one. I got the Twilight Princess one as a contest winning one, the only one I ever won. And then I got a Midna shirt and a Linkle shirt. Those both came from the Yeti, as well as this Zelda 25th Anniversary, which took the idea of all the Links, but made it all the Zeldas. Echoes of Wisdom bag from my Nintendo. I have many Zelda posters, so that's the Four Swords Adventure one. This Tears of the Kingdom art from Beth Be Rad is truly rad. It's one of my favorite pieces of video game art ever done. I love it so much. Thank you, Beth. All right, moving over, we've got the Deku Tree Lego set. I went with the Breath of the Wild version, and then the final battle for Ocarina of Time, just got that and did that recently. The Amiibo and the Nindoroid of Majora's Mask Link that I have. I have all of the Zelda Amiibo. I don't have all the Link Amiibo, but I do have both the Ganondorf Amiibo. And then there's a Tetra down there for just fair measure. And then some other stuff, Echoes of Wisdom pre-order, bonus acrylic stand, Legend of Zelda playing cards from Fangamer, Spirit Orb that came with the collector's edition of the Breath of the Wild book, Hylian's Shield, Master Sword, Majora's Mask. These prints came from Fangamer. Tears of the Kingdom pre-order print. This print came from the Breath of the Wild book over there. More posters. I have so many Zelda posters. So many Zelda posters over the years. And then the games, Tears of the Kingdom, Age of Imprisonment. I have Breath of the Wild twice, one for Wii U and one for the Switch 2. Twilight Princess HD, complete Legend of Zelda, although it's a gold cart inside that, not the gray one. The Famicom Disk System version of the original Zelda, which I am helpfully flipping back over. A complete N64 Ocarina of Time, and then Echoes of Wisdom, which is horribly covered up by the light. And then I have the Hyrule Historia, Ardent Artifacts, more of the Amiibo, the Champions, as well as a Guardian Nindoroid and the Midna Amiibo. I have the Breath of the Wild art book, and then Legends of Localization, and the Anatomy of Zelda. So much stuff. I wish I didn't have so much critique of Zelda, so I could call it like a top 3 video game franchise, but it's probably top 6. All right, let's get to this last thing. Last major franchise, Fire Emblem, which is in my top 3 with Castlevania and Metroid. I can't help myself. I love Fire Emblem. I've got every collector's edition that has been issued save the Fates 3DS, and I don't really care for that. I had the Engage one. I got rid of it because I'm never going to touch that game again. But I do have 3 Hopes. I have Echoes. I have the 30-year anniversary for Shadow Dragon. 3 Houses, which will zoom in and give you a little bit more of a closer look at those boxes. There is the Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, the Blade of Light box and glass replica NES cart, which never was actually a real thing, but it's just kind of a cute little thing. The art book that came with that 30th, as well as the 3 Houses and 3 Hopes art books. And then I have the Fire Emblem GBA Blazing Blade strategy guide. Way back when. I have 4 shirts. These 2 are from 3 Houses with Claude and Edelgard. I think they're really well done. This Lucina shirt, these 3 all came from TeePublic. This one of Lynn is a Yeti shirt. This is another one of my favorite shirts. Speaking of Lynn, I love this statue of her. It's one of the only statues I have, but it was worth it. I have the pop-up parades of Claude, Lysynthia, and Bernie, as well as Edelgard's Figma figure, and a few Amiibo of Marth, Lucina, Chrom, Male Byleth, Alm, and Celica. I would love to get Tiki at some point. I've had Corrin. I got rid of Corrin. And, you know, now that I've played Path of Radiance, I would be happy with Ike too. I have this My Nintendo thing of 3 Hopes. I think that's just note paper. I can't remember. And then the Art of a Fire Emblem Awakening art book from Dark Horse. The Valentia art book that came with the Echoes Collector's Edition. These 3 acrylic figures. There's 2 other ones, Male Shez and Blue Lions guy. I don't have out. Fire Emblem Warriors. I have the Famicom carts of Shadow Dragon, the Blade of Light, and Gaiden. The complete Fire Emblem for GBA, complete Path of Radiance, Echoes, and Awakening. They're both complete. And then 3 Houses and 3 Hopes. And I will be getting Fortune's Weave very, very soon. Okay, now that we're done with all of the big stuff, there's a lot of miscellaneous things that need to be tackled. So let's go ahead and get into that. All right, here's the discs for Sly 2 and Breath of Fire 3 that I just have in a random case. Miscellaneous manuals, Super Mario 64, wish I still had the box for it. The 1080 Operation card, and then Zoda's Revenge, Kirby's Adventure, and the NES cleaning kit for some inexplicable reason. Here is the Darius Burst Another Chronicle Live and Oleast Revolt disc, and then buried further back is the Taito LD Game Collection disc, because that's where I keep my DVD. Alright, let's rapid fire these soundtracks. Grandia 2, King of Fighters, Tales of Symphonia, almost certainly bootleg. Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. Blaster Master 002. Gimmick with a mini disc. I don't know why they did that. That's ancient technology. Alliance Alive. River City Girls. Draenus. Celeste. Unicorn Overlord 16-bit album. The Eternal Arcadia bootleg album. I really wish I didn't buy all these bootlegs. Streets of Rage 4. Mario Kart 64. Super Mario Galaxy that came with my parents' Wii for some reason. Echoes. Three Houses. Ocarina of Time. The one on the left is a bootleg. Again. Ah! Smash Brothers 3DS Wii U. Smashing Live disc that came with Nintendo Power years ago. The Platinum soundtrack for The Last Story that only has 7 songs for some reason. An Octopath Traveler 2 extended battle tracks and the Chrono Trigger soundtrack a friend gave me. Same one who gave me the Beyond Good and Evil stuff. The Darius soundtracks from all those things I bought. Fucking Rocky Reshrined. The Ray's Music Live Stall. Great album. Portrait of Ruin. Those are also bootleg, but these are not. Anniversary Collection. Order of Ecclesia. 20th Anniversary. Advanced Collection. 1, 2, and 3. Silent Hill 3. And last but not least, the Bad Dudes' first album, self-titled, and the Bad Dudes' Chronotorious album I mentioned earlier with the Chrono Trigger art that I have framed. Alright, look at this pen board. It has all kinds of various things on it. Mario, Fire Emblem, Grease, not officially Untitled Goose Game, but close enough. Gimmick, Metroid, Castlevania, Pocky and Rocky, Zelda, Draenus, Darius, Xenoblade, Splatoon, Ace Attorney, Alliance Alive, more Gimmick, more Sunsoft, Sakuna, Balloon Fight, Earthbound. There you go. There's a Celeste Strawberry with wings over to the left. Super Mario Brothers 40th badge, the one that came with Mario Galaxy, is behind it. And then I've got these Minish Cap Charms. FLCL's on here as well. And then there's a hidden link. Haha! Alright. I missed this Pocky and Rocky copy of one of the cards that Saya-chan throws. I also missed these Xenoblade Chronicles 3 coasters. They have the characters on them. I'm not going to open it up. And then, rounding out things, I've got Arcade Pit stuff. So if you don't know about Arcade Pit, it is something done by Smite over on twitch.tv. Smite is an amazing content guy. I love watching Arcade Pit. I got a signed copy of the Pit Crew Trans Am from last year. This art is amazing. This sticker came from Beth B. Rad, who did the Zelda art, just as a reminder. So, last but not least, is this bag. The Splatoon bag has a bunch of pins and weapons and miscellaneous stuff in here. I don't want to pull all of it out, but it's Fire Emblem pens and a bunch of Fangamer pens of like Shovel Knight and Zelda and Okami and Earthbound and all kinds of other things. Alright, well, now this bugbear of a video is finally done. I can put it to bed. I am not going to be doing a full on-inventory video quite like this one for a few years, I think. And maybe it should be in January instead of July. Anyway, I got Star Fox. That's how long this took. So I finally got this in the mail. So, there you go. The inventory's done. You can even see the new office a bit behind me. So, everything's been put back. Everything is finally settled on this video. We're gonna move on to some other things. All right, friends. Thank you for joining me for this one. I will see you soon. Take care.